a lot of emotion has seeped into the way we do politics, the way we engage in nation building. It's emotion being whipped up. It's emotion being influenced and stoked up and baited. And it's almost very primitive kind of instinct being provoked. And you look at the whole thing and you're like, it's very discouraging, very disheartening, because you know we're better than that.
They've weaponized religion in parts of the country where in the past it wasn't, yes, there were religious differences, but it wasn't the definition of politics. And that further divides the country. Now, if you think something's existential, you react to it differently. The person becomes your enemy, as against someone who has a different view on how you can solve the same solutions, which is what politics is meant to be. Both parties should be thinking about, how do we make life better for Nigerians? How do we solve our common problems? And they compete on ideas and who can solve it better.
Clearly, being literate or being educated doesn't quite cut it. As far as I'm concerned, the worst part of the scenario we find ourselves in is when you find so-called intelligent, exposed people spitting out this kind of bile. I find it so disheartening.
Now, the way the world is very individualistic. It's you, yourself, and yourself, and everybody's a brand and everybody needs to look after themselves. So there's been a selfishness over decades that's been baked in. But yeah, if the incentives of society are such that, what matters is what you have, whether it's the trappings of, conspicuous consumerism or greed, then they are made, nobody's really looking at your values. It's easier to sell hatred, fear than to sell hope. If we say we want the antidote to toxic rhetoric, toxic politics is to have more in-depth conversations, more debates, not to silence people, but to say, okay, bring your views. You think this, you think X. Let's debate it to the conclusion.